Um, Good evening, one and all. Today is the third day of our lecture series, and today it is for the northeastern region. And without wasting time, I would like to request Professor Gregory to introduce our moderator. And moderator will introduce each panelist in due course of time. But now it's time for Professor Gregory to introduce Professor Sunita Reddy. Professor Gregory.
Thank you very much, Professor Behra. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Sunita Reddy, Associate Professor, teaching Public Health in JNU as the moderator of today's symposium. She has been teaching in JNU since 2004. And before joining JNU, she has been teaching in different institutes, including the IIT Delhi. She also worked with NIPCCD and other organizations like SAMA, FHI, etc. The research she had carried out by the are of various fields, which include the subject of disasters, followed by women and child health. Dr. Sunita Reddy has been the core member to start a special center in disaster studies in JNU, and also been in the panel of experts at the National Disaster Management Authority. She had developed courses on disasters, and most of the research is action-based and addresses policy issues. Other areas of interest of Dr. Sunita Reddy include public health. Apart from public health, she also has interest in medical tourism, health insurance, surrogacy, childbirth, child rearing practices, breastfeeding, migrant workers, etc. Most of the research she has been doing are disseminated on various platforms, published and led to advocacy and policy recommendations. Dr. Sunita Reddy also believes in popular writing. Yesterday we were so much talking about popular writing. She has been involved in popular writing for the general public, and she participates in panel discussions in NDTV, RSTV, CNN, IBN, Z Salam, etc. In order to reach to the community and apply the research to benefit the people, she has been working with a community-based organization called SATAT as president, honorary president. She is also the founder chair of Anthropology India Foundation, established in 2012, which applies anthropological philosophy methods to do action and applied research. Anthropology India Foundation is currently researching on the issues of child abuse, indigenous healing systems, and women empowerment. It is going to co-publish a book series, People, Communities and Societies, Understanding and Documenting Cultural Diversities with the Springer Nature. Anthropology India Foundation has collaborated with STC, CRI, SECI, WVI, IGNCA and other organizations so far. Apart from your academic and intellectual domains, she is also a classical dancer. She got a national award in sports and is fond of music and traveling. So, Dr. Sunita Reddy, we are very fortunate to have you here to be the moderator, and I'm sure today's program will be moderated with all your effective and efficient contribution. Thank you very much, and over to Dr. Sunita Reddy.
Thank you so much, Professor Gregory. Good evening and welcome you all. It's a pleasure to be on the platform of UIAF, and I would like to thank Professor Deepak Behra, Professor Gregory, Professor Shalina Mehta, Professor P.K. Mishra ji, and many other senior anthropologists for giving me this opportunity to share some of my views and also some of my academic journey, along with moderating young scholars whom we are going to listen very keenly. Before I introduce the panelists today, I want to pay my sincere and heartfelt homage to Professor Vinaykumar Srivastava. So I'm not intentionally using the word late because he exists in all of us through his writings and through his inspiration as a mentor, as a well-wisher. I've known Professor Srivastava for the past decade. I feel sometimes that I was unfortunate that I was not his student. But then last 10 years were really enriching for me because he was our advisor in Anthropos India Foundation, and he's been always encouraging, and he participated in all our activities, including our first workshop on ethnography, doing ethnography way back in 2014. And in the past few months, post lockdown, again, a virtual workshop on ethnography and writing, academic writing and publishing. Professor Srivastava used to sit for 3 hours continuously and answer each and every question. He said, I'm not going to leave till the last question is answered. And that left all the students and all the scholars who participated in this workshop fully satisfied and contentful. Um, we we cannot forget Professor Srivastava at least in our lifetime, and his writings will keep him alive for the future generations. And in fact, I'm also very much impressed by his personality, his humility. He used to call Sita Ji and Long Ji, along with very many young scholars used to say sir, even though they used to be students. That shows his humbleness and humility. And also when he introduced Professor Kumkum Srivastava, he didn't say she is my wife first. She said Professor Kumkum Srivastava has written a book on shrines. And later I got to know that she was his wife. And when she also gave a lecture, we usually organize distinguished guest lecture series in Anthropos India Foundation. And the way he used to sit and listen to her shows his so much of love and affection and also respect for another scholar who's his wife, shows as a true partner and encouraging partner. So that touched all of us. And we'll never forget you, sir. And we are going to take your legacy forward, all of us, through this forum and many other societies and forums you are going to live within us. I'll briefly talk about a few more things before I start the panel, because I'm very passionate about my own subject. Coming from Central University, Hyderabad, I also have a lot of enriching experiences from my teachers, especially Professor Rao, who was our supervisor, and Professor K.K. Mishra, Professor Venkat Rao, Professor Sharma, and many others who taught us anthropology in 1992 when I did my master's and later on MPhil Ph.D. After coming to Delhi, I've been teaching in briefly at different places, but joining JNU in the Center of Social Medicine Community Health, first thing I was told to unlearn my subject. And that is where I drifted away from anthropology for a few years. But when I started teaching a course, Application of Anthropology in Health, I realized that there's so much anthropologists have written in public health across the world. And that's where I felt I should never leave my parent discipline. And that's my strength. And that's where I started again my journey, bridging anthropology with public health. And in the process, again, I met many scholars from Delhi University, Professor Joshi, Professor Patnaik, even in fact, Professor Behra, if you remember in 2002, you had invited me to Japan for a lecture on child feeding practices, which was my MPhil dissertation. So it's a long association with such senior professors, and that is very enriching. And I think that is very encouraging throughout our anthropological fraternity. And going back on this passion for my subject, I realized that we have many associations, but to be open and frank, all the organizations don't speak to each other, and we really need all the associations of anthropology to come together. And this particular forum, which is also united, I think brings in together all the associations together, all the scholars who are part of many associations. I'm part of IAA, I'm part of INCA, and I'm also part of UIAF. So it's basically that we are promoting anthropology because of the value the subject carries. And as we've been discussing, anthropology is such an enriching subject, and we can do a lot of wonder, though it's being taken away by many scholars and many disciplines. We need to get our discipline back. And that's where this organization, a trust which was started in 2012, and I felt beyond the theory and methods, which is very important, and that's the backbone of anthropologists, but applied and action anthropology will make anthropology more visible, and bringing in advocacy, bringing in policy recommendations, making anthropology as a practicing anthropology, and popularizing anthropology are some of these steps where we can really take the anthropology subject forward. So with that effort, we started a Summit of Action Anthropology in Child Abuse. As all of you know, it's such a serious problem, but then there is a culture of silence. And when we organized a symposium, we really understood there is a conspiracy of silence around child abuse. And recently I got to know that when this particular topic is being debated, as I mean, even the Intelligence Bureau says not to talk about such issues in the public forum. So you can imagine such important, grave issues which we need to immediately work on are not openly talked about. And also there are many other issues which I have worked on in healing systems. And today all our panelists are from Northeast, and I'm going to talk about a little later once they share their opinion about the healers and what we need to do further on integrating and mainstreaming them. And one more point I want to raise is the richness of anthropological methods, especially ethnography, longitudinal studies, comparative methods, which are so important. And especially I've seen that in my research on disasters. And we started the center, but before that, I had already written a book on Andamans and looking at the long-term rehabilitation called Clash of Waves, which we can, as anthropologists connected to people, bringing in lived experiences of people and their emic perspective to see how they suffer and how they cope up, and the resilience which they have in coping through the disasters, which came out very well, and the gap between what is expected from the community and how the top-down approach of interventions may at times have unintended consequences. And that's where I realized as an anthropologist, even though we are at any level of teaching, we should go to the field and get the first-hand information through people. And that's when we can really make some change. And coming from public health, I realized that we can always criticize policies, but then we need to really understand from the people's point of view for whom these policies are made to give a correct and appropriate policy recommendation. So I won't take more time, and I would like to really, I'm looking forward to listen to all the panelists today. And I would like to request each panelist to limit their talk for 12 minutes so that we have good discussion after all of you present. And I would like to also introduce Dr. Gunjan Arora, who is a postdoc student with me, who is going to rapporteur today's session. And I would like her to say a few words in the end, highlighting today's major points through all the panelists. So first, let me welcome Dr. Chandana Sarma. She is an associate professor at Department of Anthropology at Cotton University, Guwahati. She did her PhD from Guwahati University. Her areas of interest include caste and tribal studies. She has worked among the fishing communities of Assam. Dr. Chandana, we look forward to your deliberations. I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Reddy, for introducing me. Before I begin, I would like to pay my respects to Professor Vinaykumar Srivastava. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to UIAF and special thanks to Professor Behera and Professor Gregory. My observations are mainly based on writings on crisis in anthropology by earlier senior anthropologists, and also the last 2 days lectures by our earlier panelists helped me a lot. Hope you can see the presentation.
Dr. Channa, we can't see the presentation now, but if it's
Okay.
just the points and text, you can speak by reading the screen.
Yeah, something else.
If there are pictures, maybe we can still upload.
Can you see?
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay. So my first point is on public image of anthropology. We need to be clear about how we want to be understood. Anthropology needs to cultivate a strong image. It should attract outsiders. At the same time, it should preferably offer a fully acceptable identity for insiders to reflect on and be inspired by. No doubt, other kinds of disciplinary boundaries and border zones can complicate the place of anthropology in the academic landscape. Cultural studies was at one time more successful as anthropology and other fields failed to give importance to some significant issues like popular culture, media, gender, class, youth, minorities, and so on for a very long time. Anthropology needs to learn that one should not ignore emergent social and cultural phenomena that are near at hand. The anthropological entries in the International Encyclopedia of the Social and Behavioral Sciences of 2001, globalization, identity, modernity, human rights, popular culture, diaspora, genocide, all reveal that these topics are not ours alone. There is now greater openness to interdisciplinarity or transdisciplinarity. Anthropologists are now prepared to speak and listen across borders. In fieldwork, the landscape of future fieldwork may place new risks and obstacles for us. Some fields are increasingly becoming regulated. Changing conceptions of intellectual property rights can pose limits to our access to and use of information. Ethics codes that require us to specify in advance precisely what we will do and ask about may not go well with our ideas of reasonable way of doing ethnography. Quality fieldwork and proper analysis will always remain relevant in anthropology. The field may be near or far. Working at home may also be equally relevant, and we need not go in search of exotic places. Here at home, I refer to our own country. Famous Indian anthropologist M.N. Srinivas, who pursued his studies at Oxford, did his pioneering research at home with people very different from himself. The four-field approach is under debate at present. It is at times more celebrated as a principle rather than maintaining it as a strong scholarly practice. In many universities, we come across only biological anthropology archaeological anthropology, and cultural anthropology, but never linguistic anthropology. In Assam, none of the universities are offering linguistic anthropology as a special paper for postgraduate courses. In my own institute, Cotton University, linguistic anthropology is not offered as a special paper, but we do have a paper on language, culture, and society in the first semester of the postgraduate course. Then how to make anthropology attractive and popular? It is through good teaching. The syllabus, it should be designed in such a way that it gives equal importance to all the branches. Good research work and publications. Publications of easy to follow and affordable books for students. Outside scholars should get to know local colleagues, read what they write, keep in touch, and even work and write with them. That is, more collaboration is required. Their works can also be thus cited, making them more widely known. Late Professor Bhuvan Mohan Das, eminent anthropologist, through his writings, both in Assamese and English, on various anthropological issues, popularized the subject to a large extent, not only among anthropologists, but also among outsiders. We need more of such popular writings. We need to create avenues of employment in both government and non-government organizations. Some points on Northeast India, which I noted down. One is there is a need to relook at the inter-ethnic relations of the region. Anthropologists need to go deeper into the domain of political anthropology of the tribal world in hill states and know the ethno-history of these population groups, as the boundaries are fast disappearing. There is an urgent need to relook at the status of women in the tribes of Northeast India. With regard to changing social scenario, there is a need for reinterpretation of traditions like polygyny, polyandry, bride price, rules of inheritance, and so on. Even the National Family Health Study reveals significant indicators that show the tribal women are not in a better position in terms of mobility, decision-making, healthcare practices, voice against violence, and discrimination in various spheres of their lives. Then, role of UIFAF is to bring all anthropologists together on a common platform, which they are doing, the help in sharing of research ideas among scholars, organize workshops for young scholars conducted by our senior teachers, then encourage introduction of anthropology in schools, publish narratives on tribes and caste of India in volumes for each state, and prepare a database of all anthropologists within the country. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for raising very important issues and bringing in very pertinent issues related to how to make anthropology more popular and visible, especially talking about building public image, and especially by writing and by integrating with other disciplines, because now more and more interdisciplinary research is happening. So keeping the identity of anthropology intact and also trying to be collaborative with other disciplines. You have also very well pointed out the lacunae in some of the universities in Assam, especially the departments of anthropology, where there is a need to place scholars, and also about writing, popular writing and publishing. You mentioned about Northeast, and that's very important because it just clicked to me when you were saying that outsiders, the scholars, whoever has written on women of Northeast and their position to be bad. But I personally feel my very recent travel to Northeast, almost 6 states, I realized, especially looking at health indicators, is far better than all over India, even better than national average. In many of the states, despite the health sector, the biomedicine not existing in many places. And even within the cultures, I find when you look at the tribes, especially women from the tribes are also better off in many ways compared to the mainstream caste structures. So I think it's very important for us as anthropologists, especially from the Northeast region, to bring out the richness of the Northeast cultures, and especially the status of women and all the positive things which are there. Because sometimes it can be that an outsider, I mean, outsider in the sense who's not from the Northeast, may misunderstand. I'm not saying will not understand, but then it's the ethnic diversity, which is so vast in Northeast, is not easy to understand in a short period of time unless you do a very long ethnographic study, as anthropologists do. So I think we need to little be wary about that, but I really enjoyed listening to you and very important issues you have raised. We'll move on to our next panelist. I would like to welcome Dr. Moromi Talukdar. He is an associate professor at the Department of Anthropology, College. He works in Assam for and for he has written 2 books, 5 edited books, 18 research papers, and more than 30 articles to her credit, and has presented papers in international and national seminars. Her present ICSSR research project is on known tribe members of Arunachal Pradesh. Dr. Sanjibam, sorry, Dr. Moromi, I welcome you again to make your presentation.
Good evening and Happy New Year to all of you. My regards to Professor D.K. Behera sir, Professor S. Gregory sir, Professor P.C. Joshi sir, Dr. Sunita Reddy madam, and all other eminent anthropologists present here. I am greatly honored for getting the opportunity to express my feelings here. In the platform of EYAF, our respected eminent anthropologists had detailed discussion about their visions and crisis of anthropology in India. It has been discussing about the crisis of anthropology from the time of Malinowski, Levi-Strauss, etc. Professor Vinaykumar Srivastava sir and Professor Gregory sir also published insightful write-up. It is very difficult to speak something uncommon after listening and gathering knowledge from so many stalwarts of anthropology. Still, I will try to say something. So my sincere homage to Vinaykumar Srivastava sir. Your life was a blessing, your memory a treasure, your loved beyond words and missed beyond measure. In words of Professor S. Gregory sir, from his paper Reinventing Anthropology as a Means of Engaging with Society, anthropology is not exclusive to natural sciences, humanities, or social sciences, but is inclusive of all and integrate with each other. All this makes the subject unique in its approach and orientation. Differentiating anthropology from other subjects, Erikson said that anthropology raised the question of what is it like to be a human being in this particular society, rather than asking what is a human being. Yes, our subject, anthropology, is not comparable to any other subject because of its scientific, humanistic, holism, and of methodology. But it is the high time to find out the way forward by analyzing the subject and also ourselves retrospectively and prospectively. I feel that most of the causes of crisis of anthropology are common all over India, like student input crisis, lack of awareness about anthropology among the commoners, deprivation of anthropologists in policymaking, employment crisis or deprivation of anthropologists in the job opportunity, etc. But I am now very positive being a member of this forum because where there is a will, there is a way. In India, the teaching of anthropology started from the university level. But the other subjects such as mathematics, geography, history, etc. are taught from a very early age. These subjects are inculcated as a part of the school level curriculum. Once a friend who is a doctor advised not to shower or pour water directly on our heads during a bath, as it can lead to colds, especially during the winter season. Instead, if we warm up our body and prepare it for the bath by gradually pouring water from the toe to head, it's much subtle and there would be less risk of catching a cold. What we can infer from this, that is that other subjects which are familiar to students in India helps him, her to choose her subject or his subject of interest as his, her own subject. So I feel there is an urgent need of introducing anthropology at the school level. The sociology in India is prospering. I feel one of the reasons of that the students find similarity between social study and sociology, but the term anthropology itself is not understandable to a 16 or 18-year students without any school background of the topic. We need to examine whether the subject is held as a professional one and whether the students are serious and committed in the process of their learning without taking the subject as something easygoing or as a time pass. Professor Gregory. After teaching for so many years here in Dibrugarh, it is observed that the students opt for anthropology because of the unavailability of seats in other subjects, means subjects of choice. But it has been seen that a few students who comes to opt anthropology by knowing at least a little bit about the subject and the kind of work anthropologists do have been performing great both academically and also has been employed. Coming to the second point, we must admit that there is lack of awareness about anthropology. Anthropology is not yet popular science as it should have been. What could be the reason behind it? Here we must admit our failures, lack of introduction of the subject in school level, popularization of the subject in national, regional and local level. Here we must admit our failure. Till now, it is not introduced in school level in India except Kerala with the initiative of Gregory sir. What did we for the popularization of our subject? If we talk of science popularization, there is many organizations relentlessly giving their effort for the popularization of natural science. These organizations are trying to popularize everyday science in national level, regional level, local level. For regional level, local level sector, they are publishing leaflet, magazine, organizing exhibition, etc. When the common people will be aware about the essence of anthropology from academic and humanitarian ground, hope the parents will encourage their children to opt anthropology. Another point that needs focus is the unavailability of the books on anthropology. However, sociology, which is generally regarded as the sister subject of anthropology, presents a different picture. Books on sociology is available not just in English but in vernacular language like Assamese too. Recently, during my visit in Guwahati Book Fair, I saw many sociology books, textbooks following the newly introduced CBCS syllabus were also available in both English and Assamese. This is absolutely lacking in the case of anthropology. Once again, we must admit our failure and accept the urgent need of writing textbooks in English as well as in regional language. This is especially important because a large section of youth here are being educated in vernacular mediums such as Assamese, Boro, etc. With the lack of proper material in these languages, the youth may find it difficult or it might be difficult for us to make them understand the real essence of anthropology. And as all of us know, for the bright future of anthropology, the popularization of anthropology is must. Coming to the third point, which focuses on policy making, there are a handful of people who have been doing amazing work like Ota sir and are doing their level best to do what they can. But many of the policymakers are not from anthropology background. So I feel that we should make some brochure with writings on anthropology. We may invite these important policymakers for discussions. In-depth analytical knowledge from an emic point of view is the need of the hour for fruitful policymaking. Fourthly, we also need to address employment problems or opportunity in anthropology. Our syllabus should be prepared in such a way that it includes employment possibilities. Introduction to internship and placement sales in colleges and university may be fruitful. Images of Northeast India, particularly of Assam. Most of the ethnographies were authored by the British. There are lots of scope for anthropological work in Northeast India. Scientific analysis of earlier anthropological works and new suggestions from the anthropologists may lead to strong anthropological hold in Northeast India. A handful of colleges offers anthropology as bachelor's degree, but there are four prominent crises in my view. Number one, brilliant student input is rare. Most of the students are poor academically. Many of them are also financially weak. Number two, in some rural colleges, anthropology as a subject has been introduced by the initiative of pass-out students of anthropology, but the posts are not permanent and is of ad hoc basis with meager salary. Third, good laboratory and library facilities fund crisis for fieldwork. Fourth, lacking of up-to-date information and practical hands-on training for practical of biological anthropology. Third point, visibility of anthropological response to any contemporary issue is lacking. We are not able to imprint our anthropological stamp among the public. Fourth, the integration of four subfields is lacking, though most of the colleges and universities have specialized branches or theses of biological and sociocultural anthropology, but is lacking behind in linguistic and archaeological anthropology. Lack of anthropologicality among some of the theses, diminish of apathy among the anthropological fraternity is the need of hour. So, what is my expectation from EYF? Expectation is much, but I want to say that we are EYAF. So our with the cooperation of all, we can lead to a positive goal. So number one, frequent communication and discussion among the members. Number two, good coordination among the members of EYAF is needed. Publication of a directory of anthropologists, including both academic and practicing anthropologists. For the cause of anthropology, the coordination of Indian academicians and practicing anthropologists may increase. Number three, the work of the anthropologists, especially the practicing anthropologists who are working in the national level, should be disseminated among the members of the forum. Everyone should be well informed about the current development in the field. Fourth, a list of departments, institutions, both government and non-governmental organizations, where anthropologists are recruited and where there is possibilities of recruitment should be prepared. Number fifth, the forum can work for the popularization of the subject in the grassroots levels, for which district level activities should be encouraged. Popular talks, popular write-ups, public meetings should be arranged. Anthropological talks in mass media, competition among school children, anthropological cultural shows can be arranged. Communication tools under the banner of the forum can also be prepared. Our logo can be popularized. The teachers and students, when they go to the field, can hold meetings to popularize the subject. The approach should be people-oriented and should be oriented in the way civil societies function. Next, both well analytical research projects and projects for writing books in both English and vernacular language can be initiated. The output of research projects should be available for the commoners to the point wherever it is possible. Hope then the visibility of the subject will increase. Next, lobbying should be done by the forum for introduction of anthropology in school and college curriculum. Next, the newsletter of EYAF should include the information about various zones of India. Next, arrangement of short-term course for the teachers, particularly for the biological anthropology, the practicals which are giving in the CBCS, newly introduced CBCS course, our teachers are not very known to those perspectives. Next, the forum must work for the fund mobilization for all these activities. At last, but not the least, the important point is making action plan and execution of the action plan. I want to conclude quoting words from The Future of Anthropology by Srivastava sir. Should anthropology in free nations serve interests which were held high by colonialist mentors? Certainly not. Or should it be committed to the problem and demands of the new states, trying to grapple with the issues of development, nation building, and removing poverty and oppression of people? Certainly, yes. I think every anthropologist would favor creating a nationally relevant social science. If we all agree on this, we should not fall prey to the discourse of colonial anthropology. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moromi, for raising very fundamental issues and questions and also highlighting the strengths of anthropology. You have given very concrete steps to work for popularizing anthropology, especially bringing in anthropology as a school in the school curriculum, bringing in textbook in vernacular language, and many other concrete suggestions. And most of the other panelists have been talking last 2 days about policy making. I think we need to really think through how to involve bureaucrats, and especially many bureaucrats who have already taken anthropology as a subject. I think this we can carry on in the discussion and try and come up with very concrete steps to motivate and bring in bureaucrats so that they understand the subject of anthropology and try to bring in policy changes along with the anthropologists. Thank you so much, Dr. Moromi, for an excellent presentation. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Sanjibam Methi, Assistant Professor at Department of Anthropology, Manipur University. He has a Master and Ph.D. in Anthropology from Department in the University of Delhi. He explored the demogenetic profile of Rongmi, Kabui tribe of Manipur through molecular, genetic, and demographic data. He started his teaching career in anthropology in 2010 as Assistant Professor in Department of Anthropology and Tribal Development, Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya, Bilaspur. He also worked in the department, Vidyasagar University, Midnapur, before joining the present institute, Manipur University. He has more than 15 research articles, both national and international, to his credit. Dr. Methi, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, the UIF, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you to Behera sir, thank you to Gregory sir for giving this opportunity to share my view on the about my vision as well as the roadmap to the development of the future anthropology in India. Before I start my views, I would like to pay homage to Professor Srivastava, who was also my former teacher when I did my post graduation from Delhi University, and all the senior anthropologists whoever present today, and all my friends. It's a really pleasure moment for me to share some of my views. For the last 2 days, we have been talking about the crisis of the anthropology we are having in the present days, and as well there was a symposium on the contemporary crisis in anthropology, where the eminent anthropologists have talked about the different the crisis, the problems we are facing in the present day. But it's really surprising to say that even after 100 years of the discipline in India, still we have the crisis of anthropology in India. Before I go much on the things, I would like to bring some the situation of anthropology in Manipur. In Manipur, so far we have two universities. The one is Manipur University, another is DM University, the Namanjori University, and who has anthropology together. And at present, we have around 16 colleges who have the anthropology as a subject in the undergraduation. And also we have two schools who opted anthropology as a paper in the 10+2 level. But still, we have that crisis even in Manipur also. Interestingly, it will be interesting to say that the anthropology is an excellent discipline, but yet not so popular. It was happened when I was student in the Delhi University. One of one of the people, one man, visit, and he was standing in front of the department and was just looking at the nameplate written anthropology. And at the time, I was moving out from the department, and he asked me, "What is anthropology? What do you do in anthropology?" I really surprised that thing. Even in the Delhi, I mean, the capital city of the India, the peoples are not much aware about the subject. So if is the situation in Delhi, what would be the situation in other part of the India? That's the thing. That's the thought I have at the time. Again, we say anthropology is holistic, but still we are very much divergent. We have the social, we have the physical, we have the archaeological, we have the linguistic, as some of the panelists have already talked about it. But what happened? The connection, the link between these different disciplines seems to be missing. So sometimes I wonder about the holistic nature of the subject also. As Professor Vidati has constructed the phases of the Indian anthropology growth into a formative period, 1774 to 1990, and constructive 1922-1947, analytical from 1948 to onwards. But I'm still surprised, or I'm still curious whether the growth or the phase of the anthropology in India is still in analytical. We are moving beyond analytical. We are still in analytical. We are still analytic being the anthropology in India. This is the question I have. Anthropology, as I'm quoting one quote from the L. Crover. Crover has mentioned that anthropology is the most humanistic of the sciences and the most scientific of the humanities. But sometimes I feel such concept, thus it arises that the precarious to those within a discipline, as James William Led, the author of the Science, Reason, and Anthropology, the Principles of Rational Inquiry asks. So even though we say it's the holistic, sometimes we see the declining between these things. So it is the problem we are facing of anthropology in India. In the UIF forum, we often discuss, and some of the eminent anthropologists have posted about the importance of the good quality research, the essence of the good quality research for being popularizing or being showcasing the importance of anthropology to the other discipline and to the policymaker, etc. But that's true. I also agree that the good quality research is very much important. But what happened? Some of the cases. This is I'm studying my experience when I started my PhD, and when we started the molecular anthropology work, and some of the question that arises is, what's anthropology in your research? So at the time, I felt that kind of thought that there are two groups of anthropologists in India so far. I feel one is a classical anthropologists who more who are still in the constructive and the analytical point of view, and some anthropologists who want to grown up or want to changes, want to evolve the anthropological research. So what I feel, even in the molecular anthropology, what we do, we use the molecular techniques, we use the molecular tools, but we still hold the questions of the anthropological understanding of the human bodies and understanding of the human diversity. As Srivastava ma'am has said, the epigenetic, the coming new tools in the genetics, it's nothing, it's the Lamarckism. So what happens? So the tools, techniques maybe changes, but the notion, the theme, the concept, the idea will be the same. What I find is that. So while talking about the research also, nowadays the publication is very much important, as we already know that. But for the publication also we need a good journal, and it is hardly to find like nowadays even UGC has mentioned that the publication should be the UGC tier list, so that you can have the good academic record in the future. So everybody is trying to publish in the good UGC tier list. But in India, I have come across only 3 journals who has been published purely from the anthropological society or anthropological group. That is the Journal of Anthropological Survey of India. One is the Eastern Anthropologists. The another is a Journal of Indian Anthropological Society. Beside that, I haven't come across any other journals which which doesn't include in the UGC tier list. So that's the question. So don't we need to improvise these things also to facilitate, to encourage the young scholars like me to publish more in the UGC tier list journal? Well, talking about the good quality research also, there is I have these question also, how the research scholars are inducted. See, in generally in our department we have the 30-40 students, and this time we have the 60 students, PG students, and all the 60 students will pass out, but how many of them are coming to the researchers? So yes, true. Research will tell about the importance of the anthropology to the other world, to the other discipline, but the very few people are coming to the anthropological research, and some of students are still waiting for their chances to get that research. So, uh, so here there are other students also who are not doing the research but love the subject very much. As we know that changes and evolution as a part of the system, so we know that from the colonial anthropology to we have changed to the applied perspective, and see the society has been changing, the culture has been, new elements has been coming up in the society. There has been trying to redefine each and every concept we have so far. Maybe redefining the family, redefining the culture, redefining the marriages, etc. From the with the coming changes also. So with these changes, don't we need the changes also? This is a question I have. So as we know that, as said, anthropology is the study of the humankind. So it's a scientific study of the humankind in all the cultures of the world, both past and the present. So uh, with respect to that, American Anthropological Association has that objective to an anthropologist, diversity itself, seen in the body shape and sizes, custom, clothing, speech, religion, worldview provides a frame of reference for understanding any single aspect of life in any given community. So as an anthropologist, what I feel is that we need to study the any given community, not only focusing on the tribe and other things, but the thing is that we should have our the objectivity of the anthropologist should be maintained. So here I would like to ask this again question. So ethnography has been one of the important methods for the anthropology research, but sometimes there are certain periods that where ethnography cannot be applied. So we can adopt, we can plan, we can design, redesign other different methods also to fulfill the incoming objective of the anthropology also. So my vision is very it's not that much, I believe. So I would like to see the pluralistic equality principle, aiming and understanding the socio-biological problems of the human. And moving with the time, so its demand and challenges will be ideal. So I believe the anthropology will move or with the time, so that it has as a ma'am Reddy ma'am have suggested. So it's applied anthropology that can popularize, they can showcase our discipline to other disciplines. So I believe that thing also. And exploring the new trend without losing objective of the discipline will be my vision. And the promote the reason and importance, maintaining the unity in diversity. Obviously, India is so much diverse. Even even this diverse also, we need to give the regional importance, as Ma'am Moromi and Sandana Ma'am suggested that in the Northeast India, it's something, the problems, the issues has been different from other parts of India. In fact, we have thousands of ethnic communities in India, and in fact, I feel India, Northeast India is still it's a mini India, in fact. So different community having different identity, different cultural elements. So we need to promote such kind of regional importance also. And the principle, at the same time, the principle ideality concept of the theory of the discipline should be maintained, should not be changes, but should be molded, should be retouched, should be redesigned to adapt, to change, to fix up the incoming issues. And understanding the diversity of the human nature would always be ideal while applying the anthropological knowledge or queries in the contemporary society. Here, I would like to suggest, in the stages of growth, we are talking about the formative, constructive, and analytic. Now the period, now what I believe that now it is the phases of translation and anticipatory approach. As Ma'am already may have suggested, so in the medical, in the public health, so it is translation. The translational research has been very much focusing in the present context. So we anthropology, we are dealing with the human people, we are dealing with the community, we have the sentiments of the people. So we are the ideal for the translation research. The scientific investigations and the scientific findings need to be, translated, need to be rich, need to be informed to the peoples for the better welfare, for the better improvement of the public health. Likewise, in the social also, in the cultural also, so translation research or translation model can be applied. This is what I believe. So while talking the roadmap, I believe that the UIAF has needs to frame strict goals and objectives to be fulfilled in the both short term and long term. And as Gregory sir has very much, fond of the American Anthropological Association web page. So the diversity, the kind of work the American Anthropology has started and has initiated, that we can try also, and we can make it regionalization, contextualization to fit in the Indian situation, in Indian context. And I believe that the UF will make a platform for knowledge sharing and dissemination. Here, I would like to mention that in the Northeast India, we have one Facebook page, Northeast Indian Anthropology, where Dr. Quinbala from the NEHU, Dr. Oscar from Rajiv Gandhi University, Itanagar, and myself, we try to promote a platform for knowledge sharing, where the research scholars, PhD scholars who have completed PhD, they share their findings. So it provide a kind of interaction, kind of sharing the research team, research incoming research scenario in the particularly in the North India. I believe that this kind of things can be met by the UF also. And I also believe that UF will encourage the scholars to conduct research by providing the fund if possible and the possible facilities. And I also believe that the UIF will tag the popularization discipline, especially in the lower form education, and it will facilitate the opening of the discipline in the colleges of India. Here, I would like to request if Joshi sir is available, since Joshi sir has been taking the charge of Vice Chancellor in the Delhi University. So if he started having the anthropology in the colleges of Delhi University, that would be a huge thing, because having the impact of the rise of the anthropology in the colleges will have a centrifugal impact all over the India. And I also believe that UIF be a consult to the fresh graduate anthropologists, and it will better which if initiate the placement opportunity for the fresh anthropologists in the non-academic sector also, so that they can facilitate the importance of the anthropology. And finally, I believe that UIF may be take the important role of being the voice of anthropologists in the policy making, which is very much lacking behind. Because of that, what happened there, on the anthropological work that we are supposed to do has been done by different disciplines. So the UF will take the main responsible for these things, I believe that. So we may have the similar of ideas, and ideas are important too, but the most important is the translation of these ideas into action for the betterment of the discipline. And I do believe that UF will take this huge responsibility for fabbing the future of anthropology in India. And with this thing, I would like to end. This is our department in anthropology in Manipur University. We have the molecular genetic facilities. Also, we have almost all the infrastructure, and we will love to collaborate for the research work. If any, the other departments are, if will plan to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Methi. You started with a bit of apprehension, but I'm glad that you came up with so many suggestions and very optimistic view of bringing anthropology to the forefront. And especially looking at anthropology, and last few days we have been seeing people having either a very optimistic view or a bit of pessimistic view. But then I think it's very important to have a realistic picture. And that's where if all of us can look into our own states, where anthropology, like Professor Gregory has done in Kerala, where exactly is anthropology, how it is, either we are having more in the schools or colleges or universities, or it has declined. I think a stock taking by each of us in our own state will definitely help to focus further and continue to promote. And as you have rightly said, Dr. Methi, that we're not limited to studying the tribes only. And now we can see that anthropologists have been studying a lot of complex societies, and even contributed to feminism, feminist studies, corporate anthropology, business anthropology. There are a lot of avenues. Only we have to make smaller groups and realize each of our expertise and work towards it. So thank you so much, Dr. Methi, for giving all the important suggestions. Now we'll move ahead with our fourth panelist, Dr. Radhi Among. She is an assistant professor at Department of Anthropology, Rajiv Gandhi University. She did her PG and Ph.D. from Northeastern Hill University. Her PhD was on the issues relating to participation of women in grassroots politics, focusing on 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. She has been teaching in Rajiv Gandhi University for the past 8 years. Dr. Radhi, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Radhi, for introducing me, and thank you for bringing out the notion of conspiracy of silence, which I think we all experience in different contexts. So, taking my opportunity and taking my time, a very good evening and namaskar to all present, esteemed senior members, colleagues, scholars, and their students. If any student is attending this webinar, at the very outset, I must applaud and express my gratitude to all seniors for taking this initiative to discuss in depth and at length the issue which concerns all of us as a student of anthropology. This webinar certainly paved the way towards connection, a better connect, I would say, between the younger generation of anthropologists with the stalwarts of anthropology in India. In that sense, I truly appreciate the wisdom of our esteemed seniors for having considered the importance of listening to younger lot practicing anthropology at various capacity in India. I suppose this kind of idea in particular never happened before, so far I remember, wherein only juniors are talking and seniors are patiently listening. And we have seen in last 2 days that all the panelists have made excellent deliberation. Each one of them brought in some very important points. This is indeed a great gesture to pay tribute to Professor Vinaykumar Srivastava. I feel fortunate to be one amongst the panelists, and I pay my sincere tribute to Sir by sharing this perspective on the given theme, my vision and roadmap for anthropology in India. Well, there's no denying the fact that anthropology as a discipline, like any other discipline, is facing crisis, and this is no exception to anthropology in India, but across the globe. However, degree of crisis might vary. As in West, anthropology is doing much better, even pointed out by Dr. Mitra yesterday in his deliberation. The reality of crisis being faced by anthropology in India is reflected upon by many scholars in their previous work and even thoroughly discussed by our esteemed seniors in the recently held symposium. Now, taking this opportunity, I would like to put forward my perspective by highlighting on some of the following points. And while doing so, I attempt to highlight the weaknesses as well as the strength of anthropology as a discipline in India and what could be the way forward. Now, to begin with, I would certainly like to focus on methodological aspect because that forms the foundation of any discipline. And the point that I'm going to put across is based on my little experience since the time I got introduced to anthropology, and also based on my observation in recent past few years. So in anthropology, we teach that fieldwork is a hallmark of our discipline. We say that anthropology is a field science. Our chosen field site is our lab, and that is very much true. I perceive natives are the reservoir of knowledge, and we develop our knowledge based on human interaction in the field. And rigorous field work permit observation in natural setting and make possible to develop holistic understanding of any phenomena in the field is the greatest strength of anthropology as a discipline. However, I say there's a wide gap in what we preach and what we execute in today's context. As per my observation, the amount of time invested for fieldwork is drastically reducing, and hence leading to generation of low quality of data. Now, there could be different reasons for it. One reason could be due to lack of professional integrity, or to say lack of commitment to remain dedicated and sincere towards one's work, and also maybe because of the fact that every society is changing very fast in the era of globalization, and we anthropologists might not be better prepared and well equipped to cope with the change. With time, some of our methods have failed us, and also we are not able to deliver and execute what we preach and teach. Here, I would like to cite one small example of my own experience. So we say we do participant observation to participate in every activity with the natives to understand their perspective. But I ask myself, are we actually able to do that all the time, even if we are in the field and witnessing everything? Because participant observation means like to feel like native. So during our MA time for our field work, when we were taken to Jaintia Hill to study a community called Sakachep, my topic was on marriage. Since we were always taught to do participant observation, and luckily when we were in field, I got to witness marriage ceremony. So I was trying my best to participate in every events, like decoration of pandal, food preparation, even in some rituals. I was allowed to attend after a lot of persuasion, even though women were not allowed to attend in such ritual. But I was asking myself, is it really participant observation? Because I can't feel like a bride. I can't feel like a native who was entering into the new phase of life. What was all internal turmoil and feeling that the bride was undergoing through as she was to shift to a completely new family? So in that sense, to feel like native on my side was not possible. It is difficult for us at times to differentiate what exactly is participant observation and mere observation. So I put forward this question to everyone in the forum. Now, again, today we do not just study micro-society, which remains isolated and comprised of a countable number of members only within a village. In fact, this part of anthropology is almost becoming obsolete if you look at the trajectory of anthropological journey as a discipline. Today, there's no more such a society which is completely labeled as isolated society in true sense. Almost every society, even if it is a tribal society, all becoming part of modern development process. Here I am not to give a rosy picture of all the tribal groups and come down to generalization, because we know that all the tribal groups have not been equally benefited in the process of development. Development benefits have not trickled down equally to all sections. So we know that tribal groups are, generally considered as the target group of study by an anthropologist. Today, these tribal groups are no more innocent, ignorant group. In fact, at times, they're much more aware of what's going around than we anthropologists do. So in such situation, anthropologists need to be, better prepared both theoretically and methodologically. Now, again, today we are not just studying some of the conventional anthropological topics like, marriage, religion, kinship, for which qualitative data is most crucial. Undoubtedly, there's nothing like qualitative data that can replace the importance of it, as it is gathered by deep involvement with the natives in the field. However, as for the need of time, even in social anthropology, we are venturing into the issues for which only qualitative data do not serve the purpose to justify one's stand. For instance, study like gender and power structure, gender and development discourse, all such contemporary issues demand holistic understanding by just not looking into qualitative aspects, but even quantification of data is equally important. And perhaps many of us, lack in this expertise, and maybe I'm one among them. So it is time we rethink and redesign a curriculum in such a manner that that our discipline is well equipped in this line, so that our students are better capacitated in near future and hence able to produce more meaningful and authentic study, which can leave an impact in policy making, and also able to work for the development of discipline as a body of knowledge. Here I'm reminded of Professor Naila Kubir, an economist and a champion of gender and development study, teaching in London School of Economics, whose talk series I recently happened to come across in YouTube. It was quite interesting to know that someone from economic discipline, which generally rely on quantitative data, recognized the importance of qualitative data and spent almost 2 years in the field while working amongst Bangladeshi women. So discipline like economic, which generally rely on quantitative data for their study, are now open to the idea of inclusion of qualitative data, recognizing its significance. So we anthropologists, especially social anthropologists in India, should also expand our horizon towards more meaningful study by incorporating quantitative data as well wherever it is required, without neglecting the most crucial qualitative data. Now, again, when it comes to the methodological approach, partially, to me, practicing of autoethnography always leave me with some level of discomfort, because there are million-dollar questions which remain unanswered in case of practicing of autoethnography. This may be with regards to maintaining of objectivity by not, overlooking at every nuances relating to own selected topic in very own society, as for which there's, every possibility. There's possibility of taking things for granted and overlooked. So when one's culture is studied rather than other, some level of, objectivity is lost in the process. So important is to develop a balanced way, because we also cannot deny the fact that there is a great potential in taking up autoethnography study in the discipline of anthropology, as also pointed out by previous panelists in last 2 days. So we also know that there's great significance in taking up autoethnographic study in terms of deconstruction of colonial write-up, and thus giving space for reconstruction of the past by very own native anthropologists. However, great challenges lie in critical reflection of own self-cultural practices. There's a challenge in detaching oneself from own culture and then form an objective understanding. When I'm sharing this side of my perspective, I do not exactly mean to say that autoethnography shouldn't be practiced, but I feel it is a kind of dilution to the definition when we say anthropology is a study of others' culture. Nevertheless, we also know that there are challenges in studying others' culture too. In fact, a lot more things are to be considered when studying others' cultures is to be taken up. However, I feel study of other culture give more excitement and curiosity, which is so important to do good ethnography or do good anthropology, as pointed out by Dr. Mitra yesterday. Dr. Mitra, if you're there, thank you. The idea of a good anthropology pointed out by you in your deliberation was so enriching. So, is it not possible to frame our curriculum in such a manner which allows student exchange program in PG level, not just within India, but even with foreign university, if there's a possibility. Such curriculum will give an opportunity to study others' culture. I feel feasibility of this idea may be considered, especially right now when new education policy 2020 is offering so much of flexibility. Now, another concern I would like to share is that very often in a classroom kind of situation, when I'm talking on certain issue or certain cultural practices, some of which we witness in our immediate environment too, it becomes difficult for me to understand my position, what is my stand as an academician or as a social activist. Sometimes I feel, there's a thin line between social activism and academia. Now, where do we delineate these two different things? Here I'm trying to reflect upon the concept of cultural relativism, which is considered to be one of the fundamental principles in the discipline of anthropology. Now, particularly when I'm talking on some of the cultural practices, which especially violates, basic human rights, right to have control on own body and mind. For instance, female feticide, infibulation, polygyny, levirate marriage, etc. All these practices are socially sanctioned and do harm to a section of society which are generally marginalized. In the situation when we are talking on such practices or witnessing such practices, what is our role? Where do we draw line? Is it just to understand the social problem as we study and teach, or to become part of the solution making by doing some level of social activism? Are we supposed to condemn and act against such practices, or supposed to just understand the phenomena from native's point of view in line to serve the purpose of academy? I feel there's a need to reflect upon and reinvent our position. Some level of social activism is needed in the discipline of anthropology by engaging with the people on whom we undertake our study, to be more vocal on certain cultural practices which do more harm rather than good, and better suggest an harmonious existence of human society. So community engagement by organizing some level of awareness and sensitization program may be encouraged from time to time, maybe during fieldwork tenure, especially in the end part of fieldwork. Some outreach program may be planned the places where we undertake our fieldwork, and our department has started these things from the last 2-3 years. We have been doing it during the time when we take a student for fieldwork. And again, for the community engagement purpose, World Anthropology Day may be celebrated in a more meaningful way by choosing a theme and by doing some community service. And also, alumni body can collectively do something for the immediate benefits of the community from time to time. Alumni meet is needed to be organized by respective departments in order to remind them and rethink of what they can give back to the discipline and to the society. I think we have been not doing it enough, and as a result of which, we are not able to build rapport and able to have an impact on influential load in our respective places. I feel taking up of such initiative will enhance visibility and vibrancy of the discipline, apart from doing good academic work. And also, anyone who do such significant work for the growth of discipline by engaging into academic activism or social activism should be given due recognition by the forum or by any anthropological academic body. And such recognition will act as an impetus for the members to remain active and enthusiastic to work towards better anthropology days. And I think Professor Gregory sir is a leading example of such an academic activist. Now, apart from above mentioned point, I would also like to emphasize on the importance of effective teaching learning, which is most crucial for the growth of any discipline. It is so important to impart and instill amongst the student and scholar the core value of anthropological knowledge, right motivation and curiosity, because students are the ones to shoulder future generation of anthropology. I'm saying this because effective teaching learning at times take backseat, due to many other prior assignment and engagement and commitment of the teachers. And now, lastly, I would like to. Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, please wind up. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Lastly, I would like to put across my one point due to the constraint of time. I think anthropology should not remain too self-critical with the idea of number of specialization that is emerging within discipline. Rather, should be taken as strength of the discipline and identify which specialization can help in building more connection and leave a lasting impact on larger mass. In this case, apart from many other specializations, I see development and practicing of visual anthropology can provide a lot of visibility to the subject. Encouragement and practicing of visual anthropology can provide a lot of visibility to the subject. Encouragement of this part, encouragement of this part of anthropology certainly will provide more lasting and immediate impact in today's age of social media and technological advance. Anthropology department in India should work towards developing of good visual anthropology lab and get well equipped with proper training and skill in good photography and ethnographic filmmaking. If possible, some collaborative work can be encouraged in this line. There's no point in curtailing the innovation. Integrated approach within and outside the discipline should be encouraged to strengthen the position of anthropology in India. I'm emphasizing on the importance of this part of anthropology because when I look into the context of Northeast India or even in other part of India, some of our renowned anthropologists like Gabriel Elvin or Hemmendorf, apart from their prolific academic writing, they could leave an impact on larger mass because of the extensive photography and some of the old videos which are in circulation now. The importance of this part of anthropology is immense for more visibility of the discipline in the long run, because anthropology is not only about text, but also about representation of true emotion of human beings through photographs and video. So with this given opportunity, I try to throw light on some of the areas. I think the theme is so gigantic and important for which we need more such event and time. So in conclusion, I would say, in order to create sustainable development of anthropology, we need to have wide range of approaches for the strengthening and relevance of anthropology to be held high in India. Both pragmatic and theoretical growth is equally important by engaging into dialectical discourse. At the end, I must express my special gratitude and appreciation for Professor Behera and Professor Gregory for giving me this opportunity and for coming out with the idea to form this forum. Indeed, we need such an ardent practicing anthropologists more in India, whose belief and conviction for what anthropology can contribute in making better world denotes ceases with time. And last but not the least, I express my love and respect for my teacher, Professor Geetika Ranjan, who's my guide, philosopher, and friend, and true sense. Thank you, ma'am, for introducing me to this forum. Thank you all for your patient listening, and I'm sorry for crossing the time. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Radhe, for bringing out very important issues and a soul-searching introspection of scholars, and to be more committed and sincere in your own research. And as you have said, there's no shortcut, and definitely other issues which you have brought about, we can take this opportunity to inbuilt anthropological traditions into the new education policies, especially cross-cultural explorations. And you rightly pointed out that anthropology is not just qualitative studies. We have seen anthropologists writing in Nature and Science, which also shows that we can very well work in the quantitative aspects also. And lastly, your area of an issue of dilemmas of anthropologists, to be or not to be activists. I think it's very important, and all of us do that while we are studying any social problems. We all, I think, come across this dilemma: how far to go and what to do, given with all our other commitments. I think this is individual journey all of us have experienced, and this is where we can still debate and discuss and see how we can go ahead and make a change by involving ourselves in the communities. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Now we'll go ahead with our fifth scholar, Dr. Teresa Kawai. Is an assistant professor at Department of Anthropology, Cotton University, Guwahati. Dr. Teresa holds Ph.D. in Social and Cultural Anthropology from Northeastern Hill University. She completed her BA honors from Women's College, Shillong, and was university topper in graduation. She completed her master's from Department of Anthropology, NEHU, in 2009. She was awarded GCRF and worked in Don Bosco Center for Indigenous Cultures. She has also presented in papers in various conferences and has few articles published in journals and edited books. She has also contributed as content editor for DBCIC Anthropology Today, an international peer-reviewed NEIRA journal. Her areas of interest include gender studies, development anthropology, ethnography, visual anthropology, and anthropology of food. Dr. Teresa, over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Reddy, for the time. Good evening to everyone present in this webinar, respected stalwarts of the discipline, and all my teachers, colleagues, and friends. At the outset, I would like to thank UIAF for giving me this platform to speak my mind in honor of one of the most revered professors, individual, a teacher, Professor Vinaykumar Srivastava. I am indebted to Professor Behera, Professor Gregory, and also to Professor Gitika Ranjan for this opportunity. So in delineating the crisis that is in the discipline of anthropology, which basically comes from my own experiences and interventions in the short span of my career, I will try to locate my vision of anthropology and what we can offer to the discipline, and as a forum, what actions can likely be taken up. So I would like to begin by posing a question, and perhaps even end with another question. So what is the future of anthropology as a discipline? Is it nearing its end? There is no easy answer to this, of course, but I would like to offer a few thoughts. So in the words of Professor Srivastava, that we are contemplating the future itself actually strikes a chord of optimism, that there is a future for and also in anthropology. So to begin with, the claim that we have lost our distinctive subject matter, the methods, the concept, and all these rests on a fallacy of misplaced typification. This has it that anthropology is a species of knowledge, which is defined by its topical reach and also the received techniques. So in sum, what we can say is that we are, what we study and how we study it. So it goes without saying that, many of the social, even scientists, even subscribe to this view. So both at the theoretical and also at the practicing level, there is equal need to boost anthropological understanding. and a revolution of anthropology is required. And I believe that UIAF, has taken the first step in this regard. And I hope that this does not remain only as dialogues and debates, but in the true sense of theory and practice. So picking up from where Dr. Radhe has actually emphasized and she has left, considering the traditional four fields of anthropology as my first point, here I would like to say, define or understand anthropology as that holistic study of, the four branches: the physical, the cultural, the archaeological, and also the linguistic aspects of humankind. So the subject matter of anthropology is vast, ranging from the past to the present biological and cultural aspects of humankind. So in it, we have left along the paths the very essence of our discipline, of it being holistic. It has been mentioned, time and again, even in the last 2 days by many of our esteemed panelists in the webinar. However, I would fail myself, as an anthropologist if I, do not emphasize on its importance today. We have placed ourselves in, tiny cubicles, and we have segregated so much so that, there exists within the discipline itself, different fields of thought that do not even have a common melting ground. So a need for consideration or reconsideration of the relationships between the different branches of anthropology and their integration should be the concern of the discipline. And how can we achieve this? In the simplest way, by being inclusive, perhaps in our research activities. Why can we not collaborate with our cultural anthropologists, our prehistoric archaeologists, or even linguistic anthropologists in our ethnographical researches? Talking about ethnographies, I move on to my second point. Like in other parts of the world, anthropology in India or even in Northeast India, is a result of ethnographic and anthropometric accounts of the British administrator, ethnographers, and Indian scholars during the colonial era. So the notion that anthropology is a tool of European colonialists for understanding, and controlling of quote unquote the primitive and non-Western people, has been the subject of concern and debate for more than a century. In the words of Professor Constier, if anthropological methods and theories were used as instruments of colonialism, they have also been used for self-governmental policy and planning throughout the post-colonial period. So while colonial administrators, ethnographers, practiced anthropology to promote their interests, to promote, their interests, their needs, professional anthropologists have also used, their works as a basis for formulating new research questions and modify their contexts that are socially relevant. So even though they were not meant for the local audience, yet we have we have come to a point in time where we are taken to these ethnographies, and we are we have to review them. So therefore, in the light of autoethnographical studies, and of course the previous panelists have talked a lot about the issues concerning autoethnographical studies, but however, what we can offer in these is a critical re-examination of these monographs, of these ethnographies, and see where they stand today. What are the changes that have actually come about, or what have been lost on the way, and what have been exoticized? Moving on to my third point, recalling monographs, that have been written for more than a century, what we can say is that, a number of major tribes have been studied. Yes. What about the minor tribes? If anthropology is concerned with the small-scale societies and the tribes, why is its concentration, limited to the major tribes and the well-known tribes? While the lesser-known tribes are considered to be marginalized within the Indian society, the lesser-known tribes, on the other hand, are also marginalized, within the tribal societies. So this, in a way, of course, reflects the complex social structure in the country in general. Therefore, I think it is time that we pay equal attention to the small minor communities who maintain their distinct dialect and culture, and At this point, I would like to emphasize, in the next fifth and seventh point. So these actually can be added to the depositories of the ethnographic accounts of the forum. Now, the fourth point I would like to raise here is something that has been raised, even in the first day in the webinar, involving the local, going back to the roots of, giving importance to the native perspective. One way perhaps, this can be achieved is by, taking anthropology to the schools. And of course, even in the panelists today have, highlighted a lot about how anthropology actually help achieve public popularity to sustain the subject. We can make the people, the guardian of their own culture. It has long been also understood and also accepted by the first generation anthropologists that, the people are the storehouse of knowledge, and that it is from the people that we anthropologists we learn. So why can we not take cue from this, and make them the guardian of their own cultural heritage, make them the caretakers of their own cultural space, their identity, their heritage in space and time. What we would do is that, we could achieve two objectives. One is we create an awareness about the culture, the fast vanishing cultural heritage in the modern times. And second, we can popularize anthropology, make people aware of the importance and also the work related to anthropology. This will ignite, interest in the subject and also create a sense of, generating knowledge. So both at the school and also at the community level, activities can be taken up by allowing students to participate in these kind of activities. This will garner, a two-way positive response. One way, we can allow our anthropology students to expose themselves to the community, to the culture. And on the other hand, the community and also the school and the children at the school will be involved in salvage anthropology. We also know that, the myths and the legends, they're fast disappearing from the younger generation. And given the fact that, even perhaps even we may not be able to narrate. So these summer schools or even these activities can imbibe in children, the urge to learn about these myths and legends. And at the same time, give them an opportunity to narrate. The fifth point I would like to I would like to talk about here is about marginalization. Is there any marginalization within the discipline itself? The hard fact perhaps is yes. The Northeast India itself is home to more than 300 communities, and each, have their own distinct language and dialect. This need not be emphasized further, but as anthropologists, what have we done, in this front? Beyond teaching learning, what have we offered to linguistic anthropology? Can we not transform action anthropology beyond classroom teaching into real-time action anthropology and do concrete work? My concern and issue that I would like to raise here is, as professors and also as professionals doing research, are we know all? Do we know everything? Perhaps the truth is no. We may have ideas, we may know the need, or we may know where and what kind of research activity can be taken up. But again, we may not be trained, to take up, documenting work. We may not be trained in camera. We may not be trained in, doing videography. We may not be trained in any of the technical aspects. When it comes to even documenting the language and or even documenting dialects, we may be clueless, even where to begin. So as such, can there be avenues to set up experts in the forum itself, where the younger anthropologists can seek help and guidance? So the sixth point I would like to emphasize here again is that time and again, the issues and the concerns Dr. Radhe has also spoken in length about fieldwork. Of course, I would like to reiterate to what has been said. I was fortunate to have attended a lecture by Professor Srivastava in July of 2020, where he spoke about smart ethnography. He cited also about Ruth Benedict's work of the chrysanthemum and the sword, where Benedict improvised, a study of culture at a distance. And in today's virtual world, enough sources of data, where we have enough data even. My take here is that, be it the virtual field or, the presence of the field worker in the field itself, can we reflect, take a moment and reflect, also emphasize, on the amount of time that we actually require to spend in the field. How much time do we dedicate to to MA dissertations? How much time are they given to conduct their field work? Is there, are we lacking in the way we casually use the term field work today? So a lot of time, we actually fail to integrate the theories and also the field data. And how do we weave the two? These are some concerns that, that while talking about field work, besides talking about the time factor, besides talking about the quality of data that we collect, also how to integrate, theories, and how also to integrate, the field data together. How can we weave the two is I think a pertinent question that every scholar in anthropology, the budding anthropologist, in fact, needs an answer to. The seventh and also the last point that I would like to raise here is the concern of employability and also the concern of marketability. Yes, there are instances where anthropology do not find a place. However, my take here is that, is this an indirect indication to introspect within our discipline? Does this, direct our attention to the quality of anthropologists, that colleges and universities produce? We need to make the education system right. Yes, and I hope, even the NEP 2020 can actually bring positive change, let us hope. So if our education system is only to make, the students pass, let them just pass, let them just graduate, we will actually fail every single time. So it is time, to introspect our teaching learning curriculum and find the lacunae, find the loopholes, and work towards it. So finally, a lot has been said, about the essence of action anthropology, practicing anthropology. How can we, how can our, our theoretical studies transform into, action anthropology? And sometimes we have shelved them, we have been cowed down, and we have not been, aggressive enough in not having even confidence in our forte. Be it the women's studies, be the development issues, the rural urban studies, the behavioral studies, or even, the major societal. The professionals from other disciplines have had their way. So, like, my friend who keeps mentioning, can we all show a little bit of aggression, towards the discipline and work towards reclaiming our position? So with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you all for patiently listening to my deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Teresa. A wonderful presentation with your 7-point agenda. And you have brought really very pertinent issues and looking introspection and also marginalization within the discipline. And actually listening to all the young scholars, there's a lot of expectation from the forum. I'm sure with all the young scholars, if they are more aggressive, as you have rightly said, and more sincere, I'm sure the forum with so many senior anthropologists, with so much of experience and knowledge, can definitely find a path to make this subject a vibrant subject. I'm sure we are going to see a lot of positive things happening soon after this webinar. So we are running out of time. Our last speaker, Dr. Somnath Bhattacharjee. He's a gold medalist in anthropology from University of North Bengal. His area of specialization is social cultural anthropology. At present, he is working as assistant professor in the Department of Anthropology of Assam University, Dipu campus. His area of interest is tribal ethnography, folk and material culture, occupational health. A number of his research papers and articles are published in different reputed national and international journals and conference proceedings. He has academically participated in a number of national and international seminars, conferences in India and abroad. Dr. Somnath, over to you.
So kind of you, madam.
Thank you.
At the onset, I would like to express my cordial regards to the General President of UIAF, Professor D.K. Behera sir, the Member Secretary of UIAF, Professor S. Gregory sir, Moderator Dr. Sunita Reddy madam, all of my respected teachers in this web platform here, especially my direct teacher, Professor S.R. Mondal sir, because I am a student of North Bengal University, the first batch student, and Professor S.R. Mondal sir was the founder head of that department during that time. I am fortunate that I am his student. I'm immensely thankful to UIAF for providing me this opportunity to express my views, my feelings related to the vision and roadmap of anthropology in India and my expectation from UIAF. Especially at the onset, I would like to express my heartiest gratitude to Honorable Professor Vinaykumar Srivastava sir, whom I have always felt myself as one of the most optimistic person related to our discipline and how we can always progress better. Very encouraging to all of us. My cordial regards to that great academician always. Now, at the onset, I should start with that. When I had started my career as a student of anthropology in 2002, the first question which came to the neighbors is, what is anthropology? And why I have selected it, such an uncommon subject to anyone? Because the greater society is unfamiliar with the subject in the school level mostly. And whenever our students now are taking the admission in the postgraduate courses, because our department is mostly from the interdisciplinary aspect, their neighbors are also telling them, their friends are also telling them, what is this subject actually? Well, we have human evolution, lithic cultures in the syllabus of the schools. But who had discovered them? From where does it come? Are lacking. These things are not present in the school level texts. So from the onset, the students generally they get interested in other subjects and anthropology becomes often a second choice for them. So we have to introduce the subject from the school level, because not only we have to know about the basic science humanities alone, but we have to know about the culture of the nation as well. Because whenever there are the social relations, whenever there are the culture, whenever there are the biological entity of human being, anthropology is definitely out there beside every other subject, not behind, and if not in, ahead of all the subjects. That is my first point out here. Now, what I have found that in the next continuation to my vision, that we should have the uniformity of our syllabus except the regional studies in the undergraduate and in the postgraduate level. Particularly in the undergraduate, when a student is taking the subject, should be groomed with the career prospects, that how can he build up his career in anthropology? How can he establish himself in the long run field of this subject? How he can get the better interest of the subject according to his own choice? And the basic and fundamental concepts should be properly clear to them, because we are talking about the increase in the number of the colleges for the subject. Definitely that is to be done, but not merely the namesake opening. There should be the appropriate infrastructure in those academic institutes so that they can learn the knowledge very clearly from the beginning. And in the postgraduate level, there must be a clear idea to each and every student related to the career and research scope in relation to each and every paper, what they are studying in their courses. And things should get undergone the process of self-reflexivity and critical thinking at that stage, because after the postgraduate, definitely there will be the professional anthropologist, maybe towards the research, maybe towards the service. And one of the things which I have found that the fieldwork-based dissertations, particularly in fourth semester nowadays it is a semester-based system, CBCS system, it should be minimum for 2 months in the terminal semester. Often, due to the pressure of the other courses, the time duration gets reduced and ultimately it is affecting the students a lot. So we may plan our courses that in the previous 3 semesters, we may increase some number of papers, and in the 4th semester or in the terminal semester, they should get more time to invest behind a comprehensive fieldwork. Although there are certain challenges in front of us, but I am very much optimistic related to the future of our subject, and definitely there are some relevant points in it. Undoubtedly, fieldwork is our strength, because what we do through the fieldwork is to find the reality as it is, to build up an understanding what might be going on. And in this regard, a researcher should have a clear conceptual idea what is ontology, epistemology, phenomenology, methodology, theory, and concepts. Why I am telling this? Because when I was a student of PG first semester, this was categorically taught to us by respected Professor S.R. Mondal sir, that until and unless we should have a clear idea about these concepts, neither we can frame a research problem, nor we can understand a methodology properly. And it is not merely through that ethnographic data, whatever we are looking and writing, it is not merely a plain description of the findings, but a theoretical correlation to move to a higher level of abstraction. I must say, our respected teachers have significant contribution to raise up different social problems into academic concern. Maybe we are not in the policy making. Then it is now better to focus in policy recommendation or to find out what are the policy lacking. Because we don't instantly propose like many others, but we have a rational objective study of situation before proposing a measure. Here I would like to mention one of my personal experience in Northeast India, as I'm working there since last 10 years. Around 3 years ago, there was a proposal to benefit a community with the ST hill. Now what happened that they have a section where the ST plain. They opposed that, no, we don't want that status. Why? Because you may think we are marginalized, you may think we are underdeveloped, we are backward educationally, but we are not so. So the question comes, do they think exactly the same what really we are thinking about them? And there is the role of the anthropologist, that not instantly proposing, but to have a rational objective study of situation before proposing a measure. In Northeast India, particularly, I am in Karbi Anglong, so I work on the Karbis. Traditionally, they are the shifting hill cultivators, the Jhum cultivators. And there was many attempts that they should be promoted to settled cultivation. But they are not interested. Why? Because they think that whenever there is a question of settled cultivation without irrigation, first of all, it is not possible, and that is lacking in there. And it will be indirectly a force to cultivate with chemical manure. And they are more interested culturally or ethnically towards the organic manures, the organic cultivation. So that's what they really don't want to go for. So in this period, nothing to impose upon them. But we have to know at first what they want really. about them, what they are thinking really about themselves. We are in a value committed discipline with the people. So have to do people oriented researches for the people. We have to build a platform to reflect the voice of the marginals and the commoners on top. We are talking about decolonialization of the subject. Indeed, that is the need of the hour. But along with the decolonialization, we have to be cautious that we have to avoid the neocolonialization as well. And if we have to decolonialize the subject, we have to build the ideology of the subject, the contribution of the Indian social reformers, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Vivekananda, Keshav Sen, Pandit Madan Mohan Malavya, Guru Ghasidas, Thakur Panchanan Verma, Srimanta Shankar Deva, Savitribai Phule, Jyotiba Phule, Harichand Guruchand Thakur, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We have to really know about them, what they had thought about our social reformation. It's worthy to mention that how the stalwart Professor N.K. Bose was very much influenced with the Gandhian thoughts. So if we want to decolonialize the subject, then we have to theoretically reframe our subject in the parlance of the social reformers of India as well. Now, our own departmental research collaboration across the nation is very much essential. Fieldwork in other states in cooperation with local anthropological departments will ultimately give up a broad horizon of field selection to the concerned students. Through the 2020 education policy, it is definitely a better chance for us to explore ourselves across the departments. We have to do interdisciplinary research, but with a caution that there should remain anthropology within anthropology. The research, we may be interdisciplinary in approach, but we must not lose anthropology from that perspective. Our methodology should guide them to produce a better research finding and advanced research finding. Here, I think we can plan for village slum adoption program and explore the local resource-based economic platforms, as well as to create social awareness and to reveal livelihood challenges of the concerned people. We are often familiar nowadays with the term of corporate social responsibility. We can provide our methodological and operational framework to the corporate bodies as well. And it is not surprising that Nobel laureate Professor Amartya Sen, in his book Poverty and Famines in 1999, had referred very significantly about the anthropological work of Professor T.C. Das of Calcutta University about the Bengal famine, which he conducted in 1949. So that adoption program may get combined with the CSR avenues, and our student, our researcher should have an immense scope to contribute out there. Now, in the new UGC policy related to the MPhil PhD program, there are the formation of RSCs. And in our university, in one of the in two departments, in commerce as well as in life science, in commerce, one student is working on the consumer behavior, and concerned supervisor has felt that whenever he's working on the consumer behavior, that behavior is a part of our culture, and anthropologists should be a RSC member of that. And fortunately, I am one of the RSC member of that research avenue, of that research topic. Another individual in life science, a student, is working on the ethnobotanical aspects. And one of the part is the indigenous knowledge to healthcare system. And the supervisor has also felt that if it is the indigenous knowledge is concerned, cultural practices related to health are concerned, it's none other the anthropologists who are well versed with that. And they had given this opportunity to me as well. Our HOD is also in other committees in the similar fashion. So the scopes are immensely for us. And in the context of Northeast India particularly, we have immense scope to focus on the borderland issues, because border is not solely a geographical location or a political boundary. It is a place of cross-cultural studies, linguistic studies with high potential. And here I must mention that Professor B.K. Rai Burman who had given the bridge buffer concept, is a very fundamental document related to Indo-Bhutan border policies. And that border does not mean that the international borders alone. Within the states, there are also the cultural hinterlands. And we have to focus in these areas also in our future discourse of research. We have to bridge the gap to cultural affinity, thinking diplomatic relations anthropologically, along with the studies in diaspora, migration, and the issues of refugeeism. A way forward. We have to correlate with the departments in abroad as well. Our students, scholar, faculty exchange program should be encouraged in that way, because in one of the recent webinars, I heard Professor Srivastava sir was telling that anthropologists rarely do their research in abroad areas. So we have to think about that, because in 2020 education policies, many new avenues are open to us, and we have to take the opportunities really. Yesterday, R.P. Mitra sir was talking about the risk society. Yes, definitely the postmodern theories of Lacan, Derrida, Foucault, we have to study in anthropology now in each and every universities. The courses of anthropology of human rights, anthropology of disaster management, studies on the culture of peace and conflict resolution should become a compulsory paper. When we were the students, these courses were introduced to our department by Professor Mondal sir. So this should be, and we got immensely benefited to know about that really in these areas also, we can contribute, we can study. And anthropology is a platform, because we are the platform of intercultural tolerance. Even the fields like biosocial approaches, molecular anthropology, microbial anthropology are getting flourished, increasing our scopes to a new height. Universities like Delhi, universities like Calcutta, they are doing these researches. In medical degrees and paper and courses on social medicine and community health, I have found often it has been given a partial importance. And I feel those courses must be taught by the anthropologists only from our subject approaches, because many of my friends, when I was a student of PG, many of my friends were in the North Bengal Medical College. And they had told me that they were only given the book of the Park's textbook of social and preventive medicine. And that course were touched at the very last level just before the exam. So that must not be. Because in medical profession, when we have to interact with the patients, their cultural factors, their social backgrounds, their emotions, their psychologies and values, it's better none other than the anthropologist who can approach in that way. Our workshops, training programs should be on career orientation, and that needs to be conducted, where we can invite the NGOs, the corporate bodies, the human rights activists. They should also join there. Let them know what are our approaches, how we can contribute to them significantly, if not better. Dissertations may be combined with internship program through such collaborations. Our public perception about the anthropology will get changed if our subject orientation act to guide the market policy through our methodological approaches, through our course curricula, through our visions, that what we are exactly doing and what we are going to do. In this regard, the role of UIAF is very significant.
Dr. Somnath, I'm sorry, can you please wind up?
Yeah, just I'm in the last few points only. Yeah. We have to solve our problem by ourselves through our unity and collective approach. UIF has played the key role to unite us. The forum website must have a digital library, I feel, which should have the classical anthropological ethnographies and ebooks, which will be immensely helpful for many researchers. We must have an anthropological directory. We have to develop abroad connections to forum, particularly with the Indian anthropologists who are working in abroad. Through the lead role of the forum, new academic departments in the college and universities level must be started with proper infrastructure. Anthropology in the school level to be equally encouraged, and let we gradually plan for collaborative works in different ways. Forum has a very vibrant approach. Let we work unitedly, innovative, appropriate, and focused for the people and with the people together. With these few words, I want to conclude over here, and I immensely want to express my cordial regards to the respected UIAF General President and Member Secretary for giving me this opportunity to express my view in this national web platform. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Somnath, for a wonderful presentation and bringing out very important issues, starting from social reformers to all others where anthropologists have to engage, and also looking at future areas. I'm sure there's so much to be studied and understood. And if you look at social medicine, narratives and of illness and suffering, now nobody else can explain what an anthropologist can do. And not taking much of time, because all our 6 panelists have done a wonderful job. And if we can collate this information from the Northeast, what are the areas which needs to be done, which needs to be focused as anthropologists, would be very important for the forum to go. And before I open up for discussion, I would like to invite Dr. Gunjan to give brief remarks on all the presentations, and then I'll hand it over to Professor Behra and Professor Gregory, and maybe we'll take 10-15 minutes for discussion after Dr. Gunjan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Gunjan.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Good evening, everyone. Greetings to all. I am Dr. Gunjan Arora, postdoc fellow at Center for Social Medicine and Community Health, JNU, and also volunteer researcher at Anthropos India Foundation with Dr. Sunita Reddy. I am the rapporteur for today, and it has been very good to hear from all these callers today. And respecting the timeline, I would be very short and crisp with the summing up of today's session. And today being the 3rd day of the lecture series on vision and roadmap for anthropology in India, we have covered the Northeastern zone today. And our moderator, Dr. Sunita Reddy, Associate Professor from JNU, she had introduced all the 6 panelists from the Northeast zone, and Dr. Chandana Sharma from Cotton University, Guwahati, has talked about the crisis in anthropology, and she's also talked about the image of anthropology and also the lacunae with respect to lack of facilities like books and infrastructure. We know that anthropology's contribution to various fields has been immense, but the focus on subfields like linguistic anthropology is also required, as stated by Dr. Chandana. And Madam also said that there is a need to look at inter-ethnic relations in the Northeastern tribes. And resonating with Dr. Chandana, I think Dr. Moromi Talukdar from Dibrugarh has also talked about the same issues which the common problems which anthropology departments all over the country are facing, and there is a need to introduce anthropology at school level and make it a more popular subject. And one point she highlighted was that we need anthropology books in vernacular languages, regional languages, I mean, and with these regional books in regional languages, it will be very easy to capture the essence of anthropology. And more ethnographic work is needed in Northeast India. And Dr. Murami also called for better coordination among anthropologists across India. And UIF has been the facilitator here, I think. Next presentation by Dr. Mehte from Manipur University raised some fundamental issues. And in his presentation, he highlighted that anthropology is not a very popular subject in state of Manipur and in Delhi too. And there is a need to introduce the subject more widely. Same point as raised by earlier speakers. And also he talked of, he raised one point that there is a need for good quality research, and there is a need for us to publish more and explore new areas of research and redesign our approach and share our research work among ourselves. Moving ahead, we had Dr. Radhe Among from Rajiv Gandhi University, and appreciating the efforts of UIAF and encouraging the young scholars, Dr. Radhe gave a very realistic view of the crisis in anthropology, I think. And whatever has been reflected in the past 3 days she mentioned about the weaknesses as well as the strength of anthropology and its methods. Sharing her observations and experiences from the field, Dr. Radhe stressed that there is a need to do serious field work and redesign our research work and have a holistic understanding so that we are able to produce more meaningful studies. And she also, I think one point she also highlighted about merging of qualitative and quantitative data in anthropological studies, which I totally agree with. And she also, the other point she highlighted, which also is a very, which needs discussion, is the position of anthropologists in the field, to be or not to be an activist, which needs to be relooked at. And next was by Dr. Teresa, sharing her experiences and ideas. Uh, Dr. Teresa reiterated similar points and also called for inclusion and collaboration within and outside anthropology. And one point she highlighted was that there is a need for re-examination of ethnographic studies which have been done earlier, and also focus on autoethnographic studies, especially in Northeastern zone, and the lesser known tribes which somehow are marginalized within the tribal society still have to be visited. So there is a need to ignite interest in the subject at the community level, as well as within the tribal society there is a need to revisit certain lesser known tribes and weave together the earlier done studies and newer studies which have to be taken care of. Both, one point, both Dr. Radhe and Dr. Teresa have talked of new education policy, and it is a very pertinent point, I think, which needs consideration here. And the last presentation by Dr. Somenath Bhattacharjee from Assam University stated that there is a need to redesign our curriculum and scholars should get more time to do field work. More field-based studies, people-oriented researches are needed to capture the voice of the marginals. And the contribution of Indian scholars needs to be reconsidered and incorporated. His presentation also highlighted what diverse range of studies are being done and can be done within the domain of anthropology. I would just like to sum up by saying that it is really important for us to introspect and see how we look at anthropology and how others look at anthropology. By others, I mean how the world looks at anthropology. With Dr. Mitra yesterday talked of ethic perspective. He highlighted there this point. I think with our strong theoretical design, our philosophy, our methodology, our aim has been and should be to offer genuine theoretical arguments located in solid research work. Over the years, anthropology has been self-consciously redefining itself and has effectively merged with natural sciences, medicine, technology, and all the presentations done today have also reflected on this. I think we should we should become diverse and give academic stamp to these mergers. The only way I see, and I think most of us would agree, is either to collaborate or complement other disciplines, as pointed out by Dr. Reddy also. Whatever our affinities or frictions are, they are part of our journey. And I think we should focus on what goes out there, what and how we can contribute to the subject, how we can contribute to UIAF. You would also agree that the energy and enthusiasm of the younger members here and the experience of the older members here together have become, it's a great union, the 3 E's, I think, the energy, enthusiasm, and experience. And they can help us in grow, and the theory and the field have to be constantly brought together with for the growth of the discipline. As all my teachers at Delhi University and now JNU, including Professor Srivastava, used to say, go to the theory, go to the field, go back to the theory, continue this rhythm. I think he did not mention it literally. I think he also meant that we keep redefining our discipline, our theoretical base with the practical demands. And this synergy between theory and practice is the solution. And this is the way how we contribute towards the society. The last point I would want to mention is the pragmatic concerns, demands raised by the speakers today and even in the last 2 days are matters that need attention. But at the same time, let us keep our efforts, maybe taking small steps. Just be resourceful and address all human issues as we have been doing earlier. And let us be hopeful, be confident and assured, and aggressively contribute. This is what I can say. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, Dr. Reddy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gunjan. You have rightly pointed out few issues and wonderfully summed up all the presentations. And now almost it's going to be 9. I'm sure a lot of you are waiting to have your dinner. But as a moderator, if I can take the liberty to say, instead of putting it as question answers, because we have heard all our young panelists, a lot of wonderful ideas which have come up. I would be interested, and I'm sure all of you would be interested to know what should be the steps ahead. Today is the 3rd day. From the seniors, if we can hear very briefly as to how to go about, after hearing so much of expectations from the younger scholars, and all of them in their journey, which is like either the beginning or in the middle, are willing to contribute and are willing to be aggressive and would like to work. Now, as senior scholars,
yes,
what all you would suggest? So I would like to.
Sunita,
Sir, Professor Joshi, sir.
come.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I thoroughly enjoyed the lectures by our young colleagues, and I think I'm finding that in our usual seminars that we have been having, we have not been very kind to the younger generations. Generally our seminars will have keynote addresses by senior people, and all the younger people would be lumped together in some session for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, so they are not noticed. But since we have given them time, I realized that they have a lot to say. They have not only a lot to say, they have a lot of real things to say. And especially listening to Chandana Sharma or Teresa or Malomi or Radhe, Waifaba. Waifaba was our student, but we hardly had any chance to listen to him. Because again, even if we have to present paper, we'll give him 2 minutes, and by the time he'll try to make some point, it will be over. So I think it is very good that I heard all of them, and I'm really enlightened. But one point that has been, like mentioned by most of them, and we have been making that point, and I think that point is very important, that anthropology should go to new universities and to the schools particularly. I think the our forum is, I have been saying, is very different. It's not like any other association of anthropology where so there are different. So it is basically having a agenda which is slightly different than other associations. And one of the agenda that we have is to how to popularize anthropology and how to take it to schools and to universities. In Northeast, for example, we have Tripura where there is no anthropology at all. And we are all convinced that anthropology is an important subject to be part of schools and to the part of the colleges or to the part of the universities. Therefore, I think from the forums, we should prepare 2-3 page, kind of a letter. And that letter should be about what anthropology, why anthropology is important, what are the kind of prospects that anthropology is looking at. And this letter should go from the forum to all the school boards, secondary boards in all the states, central, CC and all. And also, we should identify universities where anthropology is not being taught. Should go to all those universities. So their subtitle should go to all the universities. I think this is in the beginning that we can think of, and that is a good point that has emerged out of most of the younger people who have been making lectures. So this is my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Joshi. Wonderful idea. I think that should be the first step if we want anthropology to be in schools and colleges. Each region we can focus and work towards it. Yeah. Would like to hear more from other senior faculty and colleagues and scholars.
Yeah, may I, Sunita? Dr. Sunita, may I?
Yes, sir. Please.
This is Shubho Roy from Calcutta University. I was hearing to this webinar and I congratulate all the panelists. Recently, Indian Anthropological Society, whose official organ is Journal of Indian Anthropological Society, and of which I'm the managing editor. And we actually, what Professor Joshi said, that we initiated last December, we organized one conference on, Golden Jubilee conference, where we gave this opportunity to the young scholars, less than 60 years or 58 years, who all participated and presented their paper, including the keynote address as well as the valedictory address. This is one. And we also think that the young scholars should have their own voice and speak about the subject and the prospect of the discipline, because they have to carry forward this discipline for the next few decades, number one. Number two, what I also understand that we have to give equal emphasis on fundamental research as well as applied research, because this too, and also we should have an approach to go for this transdisciplinary research and also making publications in various interdisciplinary journals. This is the way we can actually try to make our discipline more visible, more popular. This is my take about the future of anthropology. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. A, for your suggestions and also your initiatives which have already been done. Professor Neeta Mawar, I think you raised your hand. Yes, ma'am. Please unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Reddy, for being here and conducting a very wonderful session of 6 eminent young scholars, I would say. Wonderful presentations and their future visions about what anthropology can do and how they can really take forward. Few important points that I would definitely like to talk is something that could be included in the topic, what Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya in the end had talked about, the curriculum of anthropology to be increased to include subjects like epistemology, phenomenology, odontology. All these subjects are very important and they should be also a part, because ultimately anthropologists have to be competent with the other scholars where they have learned all this. So that is one that is important. The other is how to work outside anthropologists, because everybody cannot be pure academics. They are going to be applied anthropologists also, and majority of them are going to be applied anthropologists. How they could work outside is based on the program that they are working on with the other disciplines. They definitely, as individuals, because they are there, they have their own capability, they can definitely influence others and make sure that they can do it, and that should be encouraged. And we should have a support from an organization like you, the forum that is there. So that should be encouraged and continue to be doing that. And for that, we could have some kind of meetings, workshops, where there is a transition, because pure academics to applied anthropology both are important, because theoretical anthropologist is important, but as much as the applied thing, and that is where anthropologists excel, and people can use it using the qualitative research methodology. It in the medical anthropology how important it is. Working in ICMRs, they have increased a lot of anthropologists over there itself, wanting more and more qualitative and quantitative data, because anthropologists can contribute in very many ways because of their learnings of human beings in space and time. So there's a lot anthropologists can do, but we need to have a strong bonding from the departments and this forum, where the stamp of that would go in a different way altogether. And I think organizing regular seminars is very important. Having newsletters would be very important, because we could document all these things. Publication is again an important thing. We should have more peer-reviewed journals where we could contribute. And by more and more contribution, definitely the impact factor and others would come up. I come from an ICMR background, so we know we have to compete with medical science people, but then it's important to have that collaboration also. We learn from each other, we contribute. Emic and ethic approaches were not known in ICMR, but anthropologists working there created that. And people understand the importance of it, how that can go a long way. So I think while congratulating all the persons who have made very beautiful presentations, I've been attending all the 3 days, wonderful presentations, we should go ahead. But a very proactive role of the forum should be that we need to see how best we can go ahead with that. So, and I'm, we all can contribute in very different ways with our experiences and all. I was very happy, during this phase, I was invited to be a part of the Sri University, where there's a psychology department turned into contemplative and behavioral science unit, and they wanted me to take up research methodology course there, which I'm doing it. So, those kind of things can be worked up and we can do it. So let's all work together and see how best we can do it. That was my day. And congratulations to all the participants today's, yesterday's and day before yesterday for the wonderful presentations. And thank you very much, Dr. Deepak and Dr. Gregory for making, that I could be there and participate in these discussions. Thank you very much, Dr. Vera. Thank you, Dr. Vera. Thank you.
Thank you for such wonderful points. And I think we should have digital repository where every article written by each scholar should be there so that everybody can access it. Dr. Roy, Bhagwan Roy ji, if you want to say something, yeah. Please unmute.
First of all, I congratulate Dr. Sunita Reddy. Sunita, I was watching you, listening you. The way you have been conducting, so cool, comfortable, managing each minute, really admirable. How could you do it? I was admiring. How could you do it? It's a God bless. And the young speakers, where from the talent? It was a hidden talent. Thanks to the forum, Deepak and Rajari, who has brought this line to move, and it will continue. So I'm not going to have any question. I just wanted to share one thing, which I will, again, tomorrow I have a role for moderator. I will share my idea. 3 points has been emerging since I have been a student of anthropology 1969, Calcutta University. 3 points, and that is still relevant today. The first is that we must have theory and practice in a balanced way. There should be practicing anthropology or action research. Right from Fox, it has been taught, discussed. But what I wanted to tell, without sound theoretical knowledge, you can't practice. It's a wrong notion that doing social work is practicing anthropology. No, I'm sorry. Doing NGO work or like MSW is practicing anthropology. No, it is not. You have to have a very sound theory of understanding the problem, analyzing the problem, and also finding answer a step ahead through intervention. Through intervention. That means, in a way, changing behavior of the people, changing culture of the people, changing habit of the people. And this is very, very challenging. So practical anthropology, practicing anthropology is more serious business. Because in your class, as a teacher, if I teach something wrong, tomorrow I will correct it. Or if you have presented a paper, you could not do right, you have an option for correction. But in the field, if you do something wrong, the damage will be very widely. So this is what I wanted to share. because since I am both in theory and practice, I understand how challenging job is practicing anthropology. People want result, intervention. This is one point I wanted. So this is that. Secondly, since our college days, we have been listening, anthropologists are not allowed to work because economists, geographer, sociologists, they have occupied the place. This I have been listening from my study days also. The problem is we have to prove so that people will invite you. That means our theoretical knowledge is very unique. Maybe tomorrow I will share how this is unique, which is not in sociology, which is not in geography. So what Deepak shared yesterday, the core competency should not deviate. If you do anything on magic, you become magician, not anthropologist. So what is there in anthropology? The core competency of anthropology should be marked. And maybe I'll share tomorrow what is their core competency of anthropology, which is not in other science. And the third point, Sunita mentioned when she joined JNU, unlearning was very important. If you don't unlearn, you can't be a scholar. Unlearning means empty your biasness. And mostly problem with we anthropologists, we are so biased that we do not want to listen to what others are saying. So unless you listen to others, you can't enrich yourself. So this is another problem of, I shared 3 problems of S.B. Roy. I'm sorry, I'm not telling her. I'm telling of S.B. Roy, who has been studying since 1999 and still I teach. Today also I have conducted 2 sessions, but for development practitioner, I conducted 1 session for forest officers, and it was purely anthropology, I tell you. But I did not use it, it is anthropology. Because those subjects, theory are there, name are different. So we have to adapt that market name. Say business organization, organizational change, OD, social communication. So these things people understand it. So we can have to have our own. So these are, as you wanted to know, what could be the strategy, not question, for improvement. So I thought the 3 important things we have to understand: sound theory for practice, and develop yourself. That economist will call you, invite you. Develop such a way that your language is known to development practitioner. So our language, our theoretical knowledge, and our biasness, that I will not listen, we have to listen to others. Finally, I recruit student for job. And every year I give preference to anthropology student. Every year. I hope Deepak will remember when he was head, he was vice chancellor. I wrote number of times, send me some student who knows Udiya and I will pay whatever salary. He could not provide. And 4 people came from anthropology, from Sambalpur, and 2 from economics, from Baripada. Economics survived, anthropologists gave up. I will discuss it tomorrow, why they gave up. And even now, I have 4 anthropologists in my there out of 60 staff. So we must understand the last point. If you want to improve, if you want to cure yourself, find the problem of diagnosis yourself. The cause of the pain. Don't cover it. So if you want to improve, we have to diagnose it. We have to remove our weakness. And we have to be proud of our strength. Should not mix it up. We are proud of it. We know our strength. same way we must identify the weakness also. Thank you so very much. I was listening, and I know the anthropologist's future is very bright, very, very bright. And thank you very much. Really, God bless Sunita. I know your parents, your teacher, all be proud of that. And all the speakers, though, have said, I was watching, where from such talent were there. Really admirable. Really admirable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much for your encouraging words, sir. And I think with the young scholars, we can see that our future is very bright. And I think we should always say that we are anthropologists and not shy away in any forum. And I think that's the message Dr. Roy is also giving. I think we should wind up, and I would like now to invite Professor Behra and Professor Gregory.
Madam, excuse me, madam, just a moment. I think Professor S.R. Mandal sir has raised up his hand.
Oh, I didn't see. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Professor Mandal?
Hello. Audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Professor Reddy. Is there any time to speak, or maybe I can speak tomorrow? If time is there, I will speak. I would like to deliver another lecture.
Short and quick, sir.
Okay. I will take 2 minutes. Yes. Firstly, as previous 2 days, today I have also seen, I have listened and learned many new things from my so-called promising future anthropologists. I'm not using quote-unquote term young, because our moderator itself, right from those who has presented paper, all are really the future anthropologists, and I really feel that the future of anthropology is not only safe, but it will be vibrant, and more vibrant than the last 100 years. It is my expectation so far. I am listening from the young voices. This is number one. Secondly, the most important part, today's part, I am just touching upon the issues, hinting on that. Today is the special, in the case of that Northeast India, which is special webinar. Northeast India, in comparison to the rest part of the India, anthropology is more vibrant if you compare. Few years back, we made a survey about the status of anthropology with the Professor R.K. Kaur, very senior professor of Dibrugarh University. That time we saw that most of the universities in Northeast India have anthropology department, and many colleges are there, even in remote places. So in that way, comparatively better position rest of the part. And I have seen the very young, promising future anthropologists today. There are most important part what I have seen, they're very open-minded. Secondly, the creative thinking, innovative research, and also thinking for the expansion of the disciplines. I appreciate, as the previous 2 days, I appreciate them. And one important thing for Northeast India, only I will take 2 minutes. This Northeast is unique in this part of the India for many respects. Firstly, it is environmentally unique, population-wise unique, ethnic-wise unique, and strategically unique, as because it shares both national and international boundaries. Many of the speakers pointed out, Samnath and many others also. So Northeast is a special focus. It has no wider horizons of anthropology there. But one important thing of Northeast India, the issue he has raised, the colonial and decolonization. People of Northeast India, if you say they compare the studies between those who are within Northeast India, those who are outside of Northeast India, a little bit difference between any economic perspectives, as because the quote-unquote other. If the colonial other was there during the colonial time, now new other also started in northeastern part of India. That is why local scholars challenging those studies. And even sometime few years back, the university organized a seminar. So I remember I was there. They said that new understanding of Northeast India very necessary. Even they challenge the term, we use the word North-East. It means there is again another differences of otherness, what we call internal other, how North looking to the East. That is why many scholars in Northeast India, both in anthropology and other social science subjects, they try to omit the hyphen Northeast as a whole, make this unitary. But once again, if you come anthropologically, Northeast spells within inner diversities. Even each of the ethnic groups have their own cultural elements. So Northeast culture, very often we get Northeast culture. It is a very wrong conception. There's no Northeast culture. It is Northeastern cultures, Northeastern societies. That theoretical understanding is very, very important in the case of India itself and Northeast India more particular. In this context, I would like to highlight another important thing, this notion of otherness to be removed, internal other and external others. Another theoretical perspective quite often is because most of the scholars have very boldly said that both theory, basically, just now Professor Ray also raised this important issue. Shubha Ray, there are two rays of Bhagavan Rai is also there. Another important issue, the basic and fundamental research in one side that should be strengthened for this application, what we should say, the applied and action research. But basically, this is the most important part, what we anthropologists most of the time lacking, the theoretical understanding. What Professor Srivastava repeatedly said that without theoretical frame, no anthropology, neither in physical or in social or archaeological or linguistic is possible. So two theoretical perspectives, I'm just only with the second I will finish. One is, one should know the history of the local place, or place itself, the history of migration, history of the population, history of the place, and specifically the context, the environment. Environment is a very important role in northeastern part. One part from Arunachal, you come to the Assam, both are in northeast India, and go to the Tripura, it is also north, even Sikkim. Environmentally, we are politically we call northeast, but environmentally very different. So contextualization very important. Third part, cultural and social. Cultural, social, because northeastern part is also important for a new social formation and cultural formation. Very typical example. Suppose for the first time I was visiting Dibrugarh, I came to know that Assamese Sikh, I never had this term. Very important issue. Even Madam Reddy pointed out the culture of silence. The culture of silence one can easily see, very importantly, you can see it is mostly used in gender studies or this so-called child studies. But the culture of silence, most one can easily see in the northeastern part for understanding the culture of the people, very important theoretical part. Another part I would like to mention on a very simple thing, that because quite often, if we analyze the discourse analysis of the northeastern India theoretical parts, I am stating to that because the scholars are working mostly on the northeastern issues. For them, I am addressing. Mostly there are 4 or 5 theoretical popularly used. One is in terms of isolation. We usually study Northeast from isolated perspective, right from this colonial era, even today itself. So that should not be allowed. I mean, that should not be practiced. It should be linked with the, not in isolation, but in respect to in relation to others. Secondly, interrogation. How the interrogation taking place historically, and how confrontation, because Northeast quite often is the conflict zone. Why conflict emerge? That we have not studied. We say conflict zone. But why conflict emerges out of interrogation, we never studied or introspected. So anthropologically, a very important part is introspection. Third is conflict and contradiction. Where and why contradictions occur? Is it in cultural level, or in political level, or resource control level, or in economic level, or in power sharing level? Very important issue. Because quite often said that Northeast is also a type, many of my Northeast colleagues said that the so-called terrorism, quite often people linked. But why terrorism is emerged? What are the linkages between terrorism with other resources, with the other institutions of the country itself, or the state itself? And the last part is where the compromise. When the compromise, as because one of the 2 or 3 speakers pointed out about this tolerance and where they tolerate. So it's because we quite often talk about the integration, but actually it is not integration, it is a forceful, unplanned assimilation. This planned assimilation, if so long going on, conflict cannot be resolved. With this, I would like to thank once again to all the paper presenters, including the moderators, very nicely moderated. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. And also, once again, I appreciate that future of anthropology is not only safe, and one important thing is, it is not the crisis, but it is the challenges. If we accept the challenges, we will grow. I think our perspective of future anthropology is bright in the hands of the so-called losing anthropologists. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful points you have raised. We would like to hear you more, definitely in the near future. And thank you one and all. I would like to now Prof. to take this forward. And thank you so much for all the appreciations.
Thank you very much, Professor Sunita Reddy. You need to be congratulated for managing this webinar so effectively and efficiently. And congratulations to you and all the panelists. Really, each of the panelists brought some very important point, and Dr. Gunjan Arora has made my life easier. I don't have any, keeping in view the time frame. It is now going to 9:30. I don't again want to summarize the whole thing that has already been done by our reporter, Dr. Gunjan Arora, and you need to also be congratulated. And within 5 minutes, you did it nicely. And only, one thing I would like to point out, and I request Professor Gregory to record that point, because what I notice, all our, promising anthropologists, I will not use the word again, young anthropologists, they are very enthusiastic and they are very vibrant, and they would like to contribute to the forum. Probably it is a time that we identify some area, and okay, we post that in our forum group and let them volunteer. And because we have, they have lot many hidden talents. So maybe somewhere someone will take up like photography, documentation part. I like that idea, that documentation is very, very important. Someone spoke about the visual anthropology. Only one issue I would like to flag up, that how it is important to document the dying tradition. We must protect, preserve, and promote those kind of cultural practices which are fast benefiting from our, subcontinent. And if we need to do that, we should encourage this, visual anthropology. And I'm sure there are talented people in the forum who can carry forward this idea and do documentation of different, tribal life or life of the indigenous community. That can be taken up. And I also would like to just, raise one issue. I mean, that is whether our, study should limit itself to understanding of certain concepts, certain events, certain situation, or we do little bit of academic activism. That point was touched upon by Professor Sunita Reddy and one of the panelists. I think that is why probably we are lagging behind, because when you are in field, our respondents, informants, they request, sir, why don't you help us? But our subject, teaches us something different, So we are unsure, and that point, I think that should be more debate on that, and whether academic activism should be a part of anthropology. Okay, we have action anthropology, but how we do that? Sometimes we go to the field with very good intention, we do intervention without understanding the unintended consequences of those actions, and then it creates a boomerang effect. And so that is why we should be very careful when we go for intervention in the name of academic activism, because we are not going to stay there for a long time. So this is a matter of serious concern. And the other point I liked very much, that we must relook at our methods, in a changing situation, changing circumstances. Someone said about participant observation, very good. And how can I participate emotionally in a marriage ritual when I am observing the bride, in a very upset mood because she is leaving the family, and that kind of thing. What do we mean by participant observation? What is the scope? And sometimes what we observe, we interpret in a different perspective. So the observation and interpretation of our observation should be differentiated. So we interpret our observation using our cultural, standard, and that is the point where we go wrong, and wrong seriously. So that is the point what I like the most. And yes, we need a kind of networking of all the regions, and how, different anthropological institutions, different anthropology, departments can be linked with the forum, and how we spread the good gospel, our original idea, to different parts of India. That is a challenging and daunting task. I'm sure this forum, with the leadership of the budding and promising anthropologists, not with the leadership of Professor Behra and Professor Gregory. We are the facilitator. We are the motivator. We'll make you feel inspired. But you are our strength. You are our soldier, and we have the future of anthropology in India rests on the budding anthropologists and the promising anthropology. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Professor Gregory, would you kindly propose vote of thanks, and or if you want to add a few lines?
Thank you, Professor Behra. I think we are running out of time, but then I should observe one or two things. In fact, the forum should become proactive. Professor Mewar was telling that the forum should become proactive. In fact, when we say forum, Professor Behra has clearly pointed out, forum is each and every one of us. So we all should become proactive to take whatever the challenges that had been. I mean, it's a very learning experience from the young scholars, and I am sure that everyone has this optimistic view that the future of anthropology is very bright, and I go along with this. The future of anthropology is very bright. We have many challenges, not crises. We have challenges, but we have the strength to overcome these challenges. I am sure the forum with each and every one of us, if we join together, we can make a lot of change. And in fact, Professor Bhagavan Rai was telling that no place for anthropology. We need to make a difference. In fact, I always say that wherever we are, do we make a difference? We say that anthropology is great, anthropology is unique, but do we make a difference wherever we are? If you are not making a difference, then there is no use. There won't be any demand. And we have been telling that we have to take anthropology to colleges, to schools. Yes, we need to take from universities to colleges and schools. But we may have to be aware of the fact that there are even some states in India which do not teach anthropology. So we have to teach anthropology in schools, colleges, and universities. And also in other disciplines, non-anthropology disciplines, there should be a space for anthropology. In fact, in Kerala, in the National Institute of Fashion Technology, there were 2 papers in anthropology, and they were demanding the anthropologists to come and teach. So anthropology can be taught in every discipline. So there has to be a space for anthropology in everywhere. I don't want to spend more time. I think the kind of things that are being emerging, we can talk days together and discuss about it, debate it. In the coming days, the forum will provide space for such a debate. Thank you very much to one and all. Dr. Sunita Reddy, I don't need to repeat what others have said, that you have done an excellent work, and every panelist, I don't want to mention the name, every panelist has done their best in contributing their might, and I'm sure that they are part of the forum, and we expect a lot from you all, and those senior professors who have intervened and contributed a lot. Everyone deserves thanks. I thank you, one and all, and I don't want to take any more time. Thank you very much. Good night.